Well, hello there, LinkedIn fam, Facebook fam, YouTube. So glad to be here. Hi, my name is Michelle Gardner-Ince, aka GI, and so happy that you are here with us to celebrate uh, another amazing story from the Grit and Grace, ladies of Grit and Grace. We will be talking this evening with Miss Yolanda Tate, CEO, author, coach of Elevate to Wellness. Oh, by the way, she's a U.S. Army veteran, Sergeant Major, a leader of women in tech in the DMV, and her reach goes wide and deep with her tremendous impact on the Army community. And today we're going to be talking about Command the Elevation, why she stopped waiting for permission. This is going to be good, y'all, because leadership isn't about rank, it's about reach. So, with that, I am going to introduce and bring on our lady for today, but not before I just give you the opportunity for those of you who may be wondering, what is this Grit and Grace thing all about? Well, on June 5th from 6 to 9 p.m., you can scan and register right here. We will be hosting a women's empowerment event hosted by myself, yours truly, Yolanda Tate, who's going to be our guest for tonight. And last week, you got a taste of Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway. Also, you've had the opportunity to hear from Lori Smith and Jasmine Rush. So without further ado, we'll put the links, we'll put this up periodically, give you an opportunity to register. It is an event that is life-changing, transformative. If you are trying to elevate yourself, if you just need a space where you can grow, transition, talk about your transformation with other like-minded women leaders, this is the place for you. If you are a vendor and you are have a product service that you'd like to display at the Veterans Growing America location in Woodbridge, please come on out. You can use this scan code also to register to be a vendor. Women only, please. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on Miss Yolanda, Command Sergeant Major Yolanda Marie Tate. What's up, lady? How are you?
Hey, Queen. I'm so excited to be here. So, yes, it is my turn finally. Yes.
Yes. Last but definitely not least. Well, I've just scraped the surface on telling people about who you are, what you're about, what you're passionate about. Before we get into this tremendous story about your journey and your just transformation and road to liberty, that's what I'm going to call it, freedom. Uh, Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you came into the Army, as well as anything else, pet projects you're working on, your business, etc.
Awesome. So, all right. My name is Yolanda Marie Tate, and I am born and raised from Philly, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of the Eagles. So, I'm still celebrating our Eagles winning the championship. But yeah, I had a wonderful childhood raised by a beautiful queen, a single mother who made sure that me and my brother experienced a lot of things. Even though we was in the hood, it didn't feel like we was in the hood because we got to do some really outstanding things. And I would say with my childhood is it wasn't that I experienced anything traumatic, but I did see some things. You know, when you're in the hood, you always got to fight. I'm going to be honest. I had to fight almost every day during my childhood and in my teen years and everything, but it was okay. It was just part of living in the hood. But I always knew that I wanted to see something outside of Philly. And so I had a cousin that was a year older than me that joined the military. And I was like, you know what? I think I might do that just to get out of Philly. And I had a partial scholarship to go to college, but I knew my mom could not really afford to send me away to school. So I was like, okay, I'm going to join the military to get away, to help my mom, to help my little brother, and I could still go to college. So that's how I wound up being in the military. And I would tell you, for me, it was the best thing that ever happened in my life because it helped me to have more structure and to be more disciplined. I was already kind of a structured person because growing up, I was that kid that even all my aunts and uncles, everybody would come to me. I already had that kind of older spirit and always gave advice to people older than me. And my friends was older than me. And so it was just like, being in the military was easy to me. It wasn't really that hard. The hardest thing to me was just getting up early in the morning and doing PT. All the other stuff was just easy. And so, I joined the military, and that's where I started my career. But when I was in the military, there was a lot of things that happened, a lot of things that I had to learn, and a lot of things that helped me to get to the point that I am now, where elevation is something that I do every single day. And yeah, we can go ahead and before I get into that, is that my business is Elevate to Wellness. And so we'll talk more about why I started that business. But with Elevate to Wellness, it is all about empowering high performing professionals, mainly women, veteran women and people in tech, to help them to really incorporate and be intentional about mindful leadership strategies as well as holistic wellness strategies so that they can go from unsure to unstoppable in their careers and in their life. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I started my business all because of what I was going through as I was coming through the military and when it came to my transition into the civilian world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, welcome again. We're so excited to be able to
Yes.
hear more about you. Um, our topic, why I stopped waiting for permission.
Mm,
Let me just ask you first
mhm.
about the first section, the breakthrough. Then we'll roll on to the climb. And then we will wrap up with, hey, from rank to reach, because you've reached and touched a lot of folks. But tell us of a story about a time you had to give yourself permission to grow, permission to elevate.
Oh, okay. So first I want to say this, that I give myself permission to grow every single day, because growth isn't something that happens one time. And we all know this. This is constant throughout our life. So I keep choosing, especially when things are unfamiliar or they may seem uncomfortable. That's where growth really occurs. But a time that really stood out is transitioning out of the military. And for most of us that have served like over 20 years or for a long time, we know that that's a difficult transition, because after holding the title of Command Sergeant Major and doing all kinds of wonderful things, and then having to step into that civilian world, honestly, everything that I thought I knew about leadership, that I knew about structure, I questioned all of that. Because when you go from having that rank that is respected to then going to a space where people, they'll be like, thank you for your service. But that's all they want to say. They really don't respect, the military protocols or the accomplishments that you made. All they care about is, can you come in and do the work? Can you perform? Can you make those results? And so that shift was real. I mean, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, it took a toll on me. And yeah, I did some things in the military, But it was like starting all over. When you transition, you think you have it all together. You're like, I done served all this time, then served, took care of, I don't know how many service members, civilians, all that stuff. When you get out, it's a whole different ball game. And that's just going into a career. We're not even talking about becoming an entrepreneur. That's something totally even different. And so for me getting out, it was like the uniform came off, but my identity was still tangled in that uniform because we're so used to that. Because you got to think that's most of your life that you gave to the military. And so as I transitioned and I got a job in the tech space, I felt unsure about myself. I felt like I was unseen. I really felt like I didn't belong. To be honest, them imposter syndrome, I used to thought that was a joke, but it is real and it was speaking loud to me when I first transitioned. And so during that time period, I have to say, I'm gonna go back a little bit. While I was in the military, something that I did that's so important that I did about at my 20-year mark is saw a therapist. And the reason why I saw a therapist, and a lot of people would be like, well, wait a minute, you was a command sergeant major. Why did you seek therapy? Because I was a high performer. I'm always on the go. I look like I got it going on the outside, but I was struggling bad on the inside. I didn't have a lot of people to talk to. I was in the engineer branch, and it's not but so many females. I was basically the only Black female in rooms and spaces. And so I felt all alone. And so that's why a friend told me, go talk to a therapist, talk to somebody professional. And it was the best decision that I made because it helped me to realize a lot of things that I had suppressed beneath the surface when it came to seeking external validation. So for me, I grew up as a people pleaser. Even when I was young and I hung around a lot of my friends in the hood, you can tell that I wasn't like them, but I was forcing myself to be like them in order to fit in and to please everybody. And I found out about myself through therapy that I don't care about being liked because I like myself. But what I cared about is being appreciated.
Yeah.
And that made me do the work to understand that I don't need that validation to be appreciated and to look for that. So when I transitioned, I realized that rank and titles may give you that status, but they don't give you that permission to grow. Because a lot of times in the military, we'll have that rank. You'll be a sergeant major, you'll be a colonel, you'll be a general, and all that good stuff. And people will respect you because of that. But that's not what makes you you. That's not what makes you unique. And so I had to realize that I had to give something to myself. And that was really humbling myself when I transitioned and ask myself questions, get curious about myself instead of being defensive of not knowing what was going on. And even though I had to humble myself and learn more about this new career field in tech, I also had to keep leaning into my strengths and what I did know. And what I do know is people, processes, and systems. I know leadership. I know discipline. I know how to be resilient. These are all the things that I learned and helped me to be successful in my military career. And all that I still need to bring into the career space. But I also had to learn how to humble myself and unlearn those things about looking for external validation and just relearn how to trust myself. And so for me, one of the things that I will always ask is, do they see me? Like I would worry so much about do other people see me because I wanted to be seen. But then I had to do the work and ask myself, do I really see myself clearly? And when I started doing that, that's when it started to get deep for me to grow and to elevate. And so,
So,
mhm.
so you talked about the breakthrough that happened with the therapy,
Yeah.
right? And that really was the climb or the beginning of your journey to where you are right now.
Yeah.
What I guess I want to ask, how did you elevate without losing yourself? Because part of what the military does is break us down and then
Mhm.
build us up to how they want us to be, right? And then you went through therapy, which that exposure or bringing out some of those things can also be a breaking down of sorts, or a vulnerability, not necessarily breaking down, but a vulnerability. So, how did you elevate, or how do you continue to elevate? Because you said you do this every day,
Every day.
um, every day, without losing yourself, without losing who Yolanda Marie Tate is, excluding the sergeant major, right? And all
Oh,
the
yeah.
many other titles, mother, and wife, or friend. All those titles um, carry some stuff that we don't always have to carry all of that. So talk a little bit about how did you elevate without losing yourself, and to continue to bring yourself forward and up.
So the first thing that I would say is this: I had to do the inner work, I had to do the soul work. And so we always talk about self care. One thing that I like to talk about all the time is soul care. Just really looking inside yourself, reflecting on what are you really doing. So that's when I started asking myself questions, that it really came into perspective of what I needed to do. And so for me, it's about staying grounded. And so, yes, therapy was a part of it, but the other part of it was finding mindful habits and strategies that I can do every single day that would help me. And everybody wellness journey is different. And so for me, I had to learn that elevation is not just about achieving something, but it's also about how you're evolving in different areas of your life and in different seasons. And so I had to learn that the hard way. I think we all go through those hard moments and everything when we figure things out. But for me, it was, I thought that pushing harder, that grinding non-stop was the way to elevate, to get to the next level, to get to where I wanted to be at. And I had to realize that that's not where the growth comes from. The growth comes from alignment. It comes with being aligned with your values, being aligned with your time and your energy, and knowing that your time and your energy is finite and that you can't give it away to anybody at any time. And so I had to really sit back and really look at that. And we always talk about time management. I'm somebody that's always about energy management because I have high energy. I have a strong energy and a strong presence, and I know that. And as you can see, I'm high energy all the time. So I have to watch that because people will ask you things and take of your time, and you
Mm,
don't get nothing back from it. And
sure.
when you continue to give and give, that's what wears you down. And I know it's not right to expect anything in return, but sometimes if you keep on giving, at some point, you're going to give too much of yourself that you can't give anymore. And so for me, it got to a point that I was self neglecting. I was neglecting myself. Let's put it that way. And I was looking good on the outside. I was physically fit, doing all the things that I needed to do, all that. Everybody's like, oh, she got the car, the house, she got the rank, the status, all that. But oh my gosh, if they only knew when I went home
Yeah.
and got behind closed doors and got in my prayer closet and break down and cry and everything else because I felt alone, I felt empty. It was a whole nother thing. And I think um when it comes to elevation and not losing yourself, you have
Mhm.
to ask, what is it that you want? What are you seeking in life? Why are you trying to seek validation from other people? Why are you looking to be liked or appreciated? And God made you great just the way you are. So you don't
Yes.
need to seek all that. And my
Yes.
other, yes. And for me, the other thing was learning how to pause to power up.
Pause to
Because,
power up. Somebody put that in the
yes,
chat. Pause to power up. I love that.
we got to pause to power up. We got to learn how to get still. A lot of times we're on the go, we're in motion all the time. And my mom jumps on me a lot. She'd be like, sit down, rest, just stop. Because I'm always doing stuff. And I understand that because we do, as high performers, especially us that served in the military for a whole lot of years, we're always constantly on the go. We can't stop. And so when you do that as a leader, you're not taking care of yourself. Because in order to be present, you have to be present. And you're not present if you're exhausted. And so the elevation for me is, without losing myself, is learning how to pause, to power up, to get still, to honor my peace, to create space for myself, just so that I can start to make sure that I'm taking care of my well-being from the inside out.
Part of that losing yourself, I think, is also finding yourself, right? Because there are
Yes.
parts, there are parts of us that the military gave us that we just never would have gotten without it, and are key to the success we enjoy today. However, there
Mm-hmm.
are parts that we also need to let go and to
Oh, yeah.
discard. And I think the part of the discovery, at least for me, has been what parts I want to keep, right?
Mm.
And what
Mm-hmm.
parts I want to let go.
Yeah.
And I was telling someone that, um, when we transition, and with every transition, not just transition from the military, but transition from government to
Anything.
corporate or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa, we pick up things along the way because we were seeking to survive in that environment, and those things were
Mm-hmm.
necessary. Those skills or those characteristics were necessary, but it doesn't mean we need to keep them. And so as I grow, I'm learning to let go of some stuff, and as you are constantly evaluating, what do I need to keep, what's really
Mm-hmm.
true to me, and what can I lose. And I believe what we're keeping, what I see in you, what you're keeping, is what you've decided: this is who I am, this
Oh
is
my
how I
goodness.
want to be.
It's all about who you're becoming. And
Yes.
so I don't dwell on who I was. I'm always looking
Mhm.
forward to what I'm becoming. And when
Yeah.
we think about that elevation, that climb, it's not about the altitude. It's all about, again, that alignment. And as you climbing, you should be shedding away those
That
things
part.
that,
Yes.
yes, that are not for you, that are not multiplying or adding to your life. And that could be people, places, and things. And
Hello.
sometimes it could be family members. It could
Yeah.
be close things that you were so used to in your life. But as you elevate, sometimes people are not willing to elevate with you. And that's okay because it's not their time. But you
Mhm.
have to know what's right for you. And so
Yeah.
for me, that elevation is something, like I said, that's constant because we're always growing in different areas of our lives in different seasons. And so I tell people that I work with is that grind, that hustle, that's okay in a certain season, but that's not meant for you to do 24/7. It's not
Okay.
meant 365 days a year. And balance isn't always 50-50. So it may be a time in your life that you may have to grind 80% of the time and 20% you get your rest. And then it may be vice versa. But you have to
Sure.
realize what works for you. And then for your wellness and your well being, find strategies, habits that you can do daily that will help you so that you can stay grounded and not lose yourself.
I'm so glad you said that. If you're enjoying this conversation, I'm just going to put the scan code up because this is what you're going to get when you come
Yes.
on June 5th, 6 to 9 p.m. Guess what? We are going to be having these meaningful and deep conversations in small groups. This isn't going to be a place where you're going to get lost and you're just going to be one of many. No, we will see you, we will appreciate you. We want to help you join with other women who are in a transformational journey, maybe personally, maybe professionally, but regardless, you will find a sisterhood there, and you will be able to experience the facilitation and leadership of not only myself, Yolanda and Rochelle, but Lori Smith and Jasmine Rush, who you got to experience last week. They will also be there. But as we come to a close and get your questions. This is the last section. Not that we're almost done, but get your questions together for Yolanda. The last section, from rank to reach. My God, when you were, command sergeant major, that's huge. It's huge, period. And then it's huge for a woman, and then it's huge for African American woman, you know. And you talked a little bit about it, but you had the rank. When people saw the rank, there was stuff you didn't even have to say. It just communicated certain things automatically,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now you're reaching out to women in tech, youth in tech, you know, and you don't have that rank to
Mm-hmm.
increase your reach, to help you lead or influence. So tell me, how are you helping? How do you help and reach others without that? What's some of the things that you do, um, to keep your impact and your reach and your influence?
Well, the first thing I tell everyone that's transitioning out of the military is first that you have to realize that your title alone does not move people, that trust does, that consistency does, that integrity does. So having good character does. And so all that stuff is important. And influence is something that you earn. It is not something that is given. And it starts with how you show up. It's all about presence. And so I talk about presence all the time because presence is showing up, but also letting people know that they are seen, that they are felt, that they are heard, that they are valued, that they mean something to the team. And for me, I tell people that it's all about showing up and being intentional about how you engage with others. And with that presence, when you say something, you need to be able to do it too. So always be able to back up what you can say. And as high performers, especially for people coming out of the military and you had that rank and you had that leadership, you used to people following you. But when you transition out the military, it's a whole different thing. Like I said, that influence has to be earned, and your presence is how people, when you show up, when you're doing the right things, people will be there to follow and work with you. And so, one of the reasons why I started my business, Elevate to Wellness, was to help high performers, especially people coming out of the military and women in leadership, in order to understand the importance of that presence in your purpose. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is starting your day with intention and not urgency. Really setting your day. People don't realize the importance of waking up each morning and being intentional and having a ritual or a routine that starts your day so that you can lead in purpose and not lead in anything that does not suit you. So that's very important. The other thing is learning how to pause before reacting so that you lead with clarity and not chaos. that you learn how to pause before you respond. Because a lot of times when people are talking to us and we hearing things that we don't agree with, what do? We're sitting there formulating how we're going to respond in our mind before we
Yep.
actually hear what the other person is saying. And then we're talking across each other. And so you have to learn how to get intentional, to pause before you react, and to actively listen. And the other thing is to let go to grow. You got to let go of some things. Unlearn those behaviors that you always got to be right, or you always got to say your piece, or putting expectations on other people that don't belong on them, because people are not going to perform or act the way that you want them to react or perform. So letting go of those things. And then another thing is unplugging so you can truly reconnect. We done got hooked on these computers, on these phones, on all this stuff. But sometimes you just got to sit back, unplug, get off of social media, get off the TV, get off your computer, read a book, journal, relax, do nothing, sit in stillness, meditate, pray, whatever it needs to be. But find time to unplug so you can reconnect and reset yourself. And that will help not just you, but also help you in your leadership and help others. And then the last thing I would say is end every single day in gratitude. Be purposeful about all of the blessings that's in your life. Because a lot of times we focus on the negative and we don't look at the positive. And there are some beautiful things just in nature, just in life, just being able to breathe, just being able to have the opportunity to sit here and do this live with you. I'm grateful for it, And so I just tell everybody, end every night with gratitude and not with guilt. Don't encourage yourself instead of talking bad to yourself. And one of the ways that I encourage myself every single day is that I tell myself, I am my star player. I heard Cat Williams say that one time, and I was like, you know what? That is so true. I am my star player. So I get in the mirror and I tell myself every day that I'm my star player. There's nobody like me. Nobody can be me. And I am walking in my purpose, that I am great just the way that I am. So we have to learn how to encourage, to empower, and to talk life over our own selves before we can talk it to somebody else.
Oh my God. Powerhouse. Hey, Lady Slay Queen.
Hey, Slay Queen.
Rochelle, how are you? And I'm going to bring Lori
Hello.
on when she's ready as well. So glad. So, hey, right now on the screen, you've got the 3 originating founding members of Grit and Grace.
Yes.
And we are just so excited to be able to have you join us on June 5th, 6 to 9 p.m. In Woodbridge. But I know Rochelle probably has some questions, and I'm going to bring Lori on. I see Lori's here.
Hey, Lori.
Hey, how you doing?
We're back
Look at
again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
yes.
Well, I do have a
So,
question for
Rochelle, you
Yolanda.
have a question? Go ahead.
I do. So, Yolanda, we've only known each other for a short period of time, but we are definitely in alignment with so
Yeah.
many things. So, I don't believe in you have to know somebody for a very long time to get and understand them. We are cut from the same cloth when it comes to, our journeys and the expectation of being a high achieving performer.
Yeah.
And, as you were discussing, you were sharing, and thank you for sharing more of your story with us, especially, you're in the ghetto, okay, in the hood of Philadelphia fighting. And I know in the Army, it wasn't easy for me and in the Air Force. So I know it wasn't easy for you in the Army.
Mhm.
And so having to have that fighting mentality
Yeah.
of, people coming for you and you're setting yourself up for, okay, here we go. Like, I've been here before. I've got to do this over and over and over again. Right. So
Mhm.
when you were talking about transitioning and getting into the space of it, really elevating and particularly the wellness piece to it and understand that, and you were speaking through that, one of the things that I would love to know is how do you work with your women and how do you get them, if you will, to stop asking for permission, all right, to do whatever it is that they desire to do in their next chapter and really own what they particularly want to do. Like, we all have desired goals and we want a desired life for ourselves. And the intentional piece is one thing that I
Oh, yeah.
continue to hear, about all things because it's more important than ever. But how do you get anyone who is looking, what's kind of the first
Go
steps
ahead,
and
Yolanda. Did you
stop
hear her,
asking for
the
permission?
most of her question? I think she'll be
Yeah.
back in a
Yep.
minute.
Yep. Yep. So talk about the first step. Well, the first step is self-awareness with everything. So in order to do the work, you have to know yourself and what it is that you need to work towards.
We're having technical problems today. Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
Go
Maybe
ahead. We
GI.
got you. We
Okay.
lost you for.
Yes, we
lost
can.
you for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, that self-awareness is the most important piece. So that takes time to sit down and reflect on your life. What are your strengths? Because a lot of time for women, especially high achieving women, we've been so busy doing for so many other people that we don't even know what our strengths are. We don't even know what our likes are. And so figuring out what are your strengths to begin with, how can you leverage and lean in on those strengths in your personal and in your professional life? And then also understanding what are the parts of you that you like and learn how to like yourself. We talk about self-care, we talk about self-love all the time. That's important. You'll hear everybody say that I love myself. But do you really love yourself and like yourself? Are you content with being alone with yourself? Do you enjoy spending time with yourself? What do you do? Do you speak life over yourself? Or are you always criticizing or downplaying the things that you do? And so we have to figure that out first in order to set goals for what you want to do in order to elevate. And elevation takes time. It doesn't excuse me, happen overnight. And one of my frameworks that I have is I want everybody to dare to elevate. And when I say dare to elevate, it's, of course, in the military, we always do acronyms. So it's an acronym. Dare is an acronym, and it's time too. So it's determination plus discipline. And then you have accountability plus alignment, resilience plus readiness, and then execution plus efficiency equals elevation. And so when we can put all those things together, that will help us to climb to those levels where we need to be. And we also have to be willing to understand, like I said earlier, that as you climb, you got to unlearn some things. Those things are going to shed off, they're going to fall off as you continue to elevate to the next level. And elevation isn't always constant. Sometimes you got to be at a level and get comfortable at that level before you can even move. I know how people always say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's true. You may have to stay at a certain level for a long period of time before you can move to the next level, and stop. One thing that I tell a lot of my clients is stop comparing yourself to other people. That's what holds us back so much as females, because we look at our sister on the left or the right and we're like, oh my gosh, she's all the way at step 100 and you at step 10. She had a process to get to 100. You got to realize that you got to get through that whole process. And that process may be ugly. That's that ugly middle that you're going to have to go through in order to get there. But it takes time. And everybody's journey is different. And everybody's pace at elevation is different. And so that's why I tell everybody, learn about yourself first. Get to like yourself first. And then we can work on what are those goals, what are those milestones that we need to put in place in order for you to elevate to the next level. Yes. It's work. Right? I tell everybody, it is work. It is not easy. And I am constantly working on myself at the same time.
Hey, Lori,
Or you may think you mastered one
can
thing.
you see and hear Yolanda?
Yeah, I can, Michelle.
Okay.
Yep. And we think we master something, and we still have so much to do. And that's the beauty of life. That's what I love about life, that we're constantly growing, and as human beings, God made us relational. So, we had this journey is not alone. That's why we have our sisters. That's we have a sisterhood. That's why, we have community. And I have to say this, for me, in the military, I really didn't have a sisterhood the way that I have now out of the military. In the military, we were constantly on the go. I was always the only female in leadership positions, mainly almost the only Black female. And so I really didn't have that sisterhood. But when I transitioned, the beauty in that is that I learned the power of being in community and being around other strong women. And so, that's what's so important. That's where growth helps come in that community.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, to Rochelle's point, I love it when I meet women and meet sisters, whereas we get together and it's like we're family. We've been knowing each other our lives. So although you first time seeing me on screen, you have to show up with my birthday gift next week.
Amen. When's
your birthday?
My birthday is June the 8th.
Okay, I'll get you. Mine's June 13th.
All right, now.
So we're gonna have them living on us. So they need to come to our gifts and don't be up here playing. So and another Gemini.
Yes.
I love the conversation. And I like so much about what you said, because throughout all of these segments, and it's just been this consistency. And I just really love the vision that God gives Michelle, and she has this way of just bringing it all together, and it just promotes unity. And Michelle and I, working together, we're always about, trust what we say, but verify what the information. So I even love that as you were discussing the various aspects of, from a mental wellness perspective, we got our amen sister in the chat saying, hey, I'm a therapist and I approve this message. So it's always great to be someplace where someone else can hear and recognize and acknowledge your truth. So I want to say that. But one of the things that you spoke about when you were saying you had to catch yourself and acknowledge and recognize that, hey, in my transition and shift, I had to catch myself and stop myself from being an imposter. And so I really appreciate, the fact that, hey, that's about owning and recognize what our strengths, what our weaknesses, what our limitations are, things of that nature. Now, I will say, I listened to y'all stories and your testimonies, and since I'm off screen, I'd be like, oh, thank you, Jesus, for my deliverance, or that wasn't a test I had to go through. So I do that, but it's still shared stories, and that's fortunate as well as unfortunate, because it shouldn't be a consistent thing too many of us are talking about and saying. So, but to that point, what anchors your confidence when imposter syndrome creeps? What was it that anchored your confidence in who you were, to recognize, but more importantly, to just anchor yourself when that spirit came up against you?
What anchored me is, first of all, my faith. Is knowing that I'm a child of God, and that God did not make me in a way that I need to fear what other people may think of me, or what I think other people think of me. And so the other thing that anchored me was these feelings that we have to ask ourselves, are they validated? Are they in truth? And so a lot of times when we think we don't belong or anything like that, who told you you didn't belong? What made you think that you didn't belong? Did anybody say that to you? And a lot of times it's because of limiting beliefs that were put on us in our childhood, or it's something that we heard, or it could be external things. As Black women, we know about it could be microaggressions, it can be biases that were brought against us, it could be racism, it could be discrimination, it could be all these things that make us feel like we have imposter syndrome. And so for me, the number one thing that keeps me grounded is that when I start feeling those things, I go to my faith and then I ask myself, how is this valid? What evidence do I have to prove that I don't belong here? Who told me that?
Yeah.
And
And
so,
that's great. Yeah, it goes back to the sticks. And well, I often tell people, hey, at the end of the day, regardless of what you say, the sun is going to rise and shine.
yes.
So who you know? But I love it, you know, and that's the thing we have to tell ourselves and just be reminded or just aware of. You know, I don't need to keep telling yourself over and over again, hey, just be mindful, ladies. No, we don't need somebody to validate us. We know who we are and whose we are. And so I think when we walk in that truth and encourage each other to do that, that's how we're able to elevate the greatness. So I have really enjoyed tonight. I enjoyed everything.
Oh, yes. We have to really, like you said, we got to remind ourselves and each other that you don't need permission from anybody else. You don't need that external validation. The validation is already within you. God already made you great. You are a human being on this earth. You already possess greatness. We have to learn how to walk in it and walk into our purpose. And so, you know, as women, we take on so much, and especially as Black women, we take on so much, you know, because we are nurturers. That's in our nature to take care of everyone else. But at some point, you have to realize that you can't take care of anybody else until you take care of yourself. And when you are well, you move well, you lead well, and you take care of others well. And so that's why your holistic wellness is important spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Because when we can get the soul right and the mind right, everything else will follow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Love it.
Amen.
Right. Amen.
So, you know, so I hope y'all have been enjoying hearing the dialogue, the conversation, because if you want more, you know what you got to do. You got to sign up. And I'm going to put this back up here, right up here. We're just giving you the appetizer. This is not the full meal. This is not the dessert. This is the appetizer of what you are going to be able to experience, what you're going to be able to take part in, and be joined along with other amazing women in government, women in the military spouses, female military community supporters, all welcome. We'll be in Woodbridge, Virginia next week, next Thursday. Oh my God. From 6 to 9 p.m. So if you enjoyed this, come. If you say, oh my God, GI, I got something else planned, buy a ticket for someone else and gift it. You will enjoy yourself. I promise you. If you come expecting a blessing, expecting to feel like you are among your sisters, you find it. And I believe you will lead with strategies that will help you on the journey. You know, whether that's transition, transformation. You know, we're living in what I call dynamic times. You know, things are changing, but one thing remains the same. We're strong. We're able. We're enough. We're equipped. We're resilient. And we just need to be amongst others to reflect what we see back to each other. And there's so much strength in that. And that's what you're going to get at Grit and Grace next Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m. Look, I do want to ask Yolanda and Rochelle to share what they enjoyed most at the last Grit and Grace, and to add anything else about what people are going to be in store for, and any last words.
I'll go first, Yolanda, so you can have the last word for this episode. I think last live I shared about the conversations afterwards about people were getting together because they got to know each other in this space, and then created group chats and was like, hey, we need to stay in contact. What is the next? And that doesn't happen in a lot of different networking events and communities. Now, I'm a networkaholic. If you've all seen, I'm out and about, and I have never had any of the ones that I've attended have a separate group chat and said, hey, let's check in on everybody. Happy Mother's Day. What is everybody doing this weekend? How's everybody feeling? That's the warmth, the energy, the feeling that you're going to get. And I'm all about feeling nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, if anyone has served or been into the government space for a very long time, sometimes that could be a tricky word. Okay. And so what we're trying to do, and I think it's not even trying, what we are doing is creating community, creating an environment where it's safe and you're with like-minded women. And I think that's so important nowadays, because sticking together, especially when you are down, believe in me, we've all had our days where we have felt like the world was just on top of us. And we're thinking, I don't know if I'm going to get through another day or not. But when you reach out to any of us and say, hey, I'm not up to it today, I can guarantee you will get a response back, and somebody's going to see about you. All right. And that's what we want to create. That is the community that we're creating right now. So we want you all to be in the room. Okay. So get these outfits together. All right. That should not be no excuse as to why you can't come. All right. Get the outfit. Do it this week. All right. Come. Be a part of it. We're going to be eating. We're going to kikiing it up. And we're going to talk about some of the, more pressing issues of today, so we can give you some strategies to get through that. So yes, come see us.
Oh my goodness, Michelle. Rochelle, I love that when you say get your fit together.
Listen. Don't come in there talking about I didn't know what to wear.
You wouldn't expect anything less from the Sweat Queen. Yeah. Nothing less from the Sweat Queen.
Oh, goodness.
Nothing less.
That is funny. No, we know how it is as women. Let's be honest. A lot of times like, I don't have nothing to wear. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
If you don't, you got the resources to get one. So let's not make that a thing.
Oh, goodness. G.I., you was about to say something?
Well, I was going to ask Lori, since this will be Lori's first time, what are you looking forward to, Lori? And then I'm going to ask you, Yolanda, to close out and give some last words. You're muted, hon.
I was saying I'm always looking forward to seeing you and having an opportunity to just share and just be in fellowship with other like-minded women. But I am just excited to see how it all comes together, and this feel, what I'm hearing and sensing that is similar to even the atmosphere that we've created, even with sowing our seeds. So to, again, always be in step and in alignment with God has already established. I've just thoroughly enjoyed that. And of course, I'm looking forward to my gifts. Look, and I'm not playing. So don't y'all come up in there. Don't acting like y'all didn't know.
You don't know, Lord. You better be bringing a gift with you, okay?
Yeah. Look, I am the gift, but I'm thinking about Yolanda and bringing something special too. But yeah, y'all better bring me. Yeah, don't play. I'm not playing with
All right,
either.
y'all, you hear my Gemini twin? She said, "Don't play now."
Exactly. You know, we got that single parent thing going on.
I just want to say, I don't want to hurt Yolanda's feelings, so I can't bring you a gift because I'd have to buy two.
I guess Yolanda will understand.
Oh goodness! You know what? We'll do it like this. Michelle,
oh my God! Yolanda, go ahead.
Rochelle,
y'all see how much fun we have, and we about to have some more next Thursday.
That's very diplomatic, Yolanda. Rochelle, that's Yolanda offering her solution. You know, look, darn it.
Oh God.
And she just got through talking about all of this. Oh, I learned to take care of myself. Girl, I'm learning to take care of me. I want my own gifts.
Let's be diplomatic about it. We know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen.
They're going to love us. Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yes. That was funny.
Lord. Go ahead. And Chevy just joined us. She probably saying, what are they keeping about?
I know, right?
I don't know what's going on. Chevy, have you been with us the whole time? Go ahead and close out, Yolanda.
Oh goodness. So the only thing that I'm going to add to all the wonderful things that Rochelle and Lori already said is that the key word that I said tonight about elevation was alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Being aligned. And I think with our Women of Grit and Grace events, it's about being aligned with fellow women, sisters in Christ, sister in arms, sisters in community, that you can leave knowing that you're not alone. Because again, like I said, as human beings, God made us to be relational with Him and with others. And this journey hits different when we walk it with women who see us, who support us, who understand us, and where we can remind each other whenever we forget about our greatness and our power. And just getting back to grit and grace, I would say for me that grit is what got all of us going. All of us going in our military careers, all of us going as civilians right now. And that grace is what keeps us grounded, keeps us grounded in Christ. And when the day is done, you know, we can't measure our success by the applause or titles or rank or status that we have. We have to be able to ask ourselves, you know, whether it's in the military, whether it's as a civilian or as an entrepreneur in a career or whatever it may be, are you showing up with heart? Are you showing up in your truth? And if the answer is yes, you're doing enough. You don't have to worry about your worthiness. And so if you are a woman who is waiting for clarity, waiting for that right, waiting for a sign or a space that just feels real and right for you, then join us on June the 5th, because Women of Grit and Grace, I'm telling you, this is a community. It is a movement that is starting, that we are coming together and we are doing wonderful, great things to support one another. And it's not just an event, it's a time to reset, to reclaim, to relive who you are. And so I'm excited and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next Thursday. I'm looking forward to being in the place, getting my gifts, like Lori said.
I know.
And we're going to be doing some great things.
Let me just say, if you are a woman of grit and grace, bring a gift, 2 gifts to help us out.
Yes.
If you're a woman of grit and grace, guess what? We rise because we were never meant to stay low. We slay because the battlefield is yours to command. We shine because dimming our light does not serve our mission. We elevate because leadership isn't about rank, it's about reach. And we sow because our legacy is what we plant in others. Come on, ladies. We will see you next. I want to thank you all. I'm going to put this slide up here for one more time. One, I want to thank our amazing, beautiful Yolanda Tate for gracing us with your story. And then I'm going to put this up here so that you can take your time, get that screenshot. Men, our few good men, buy a ticket for your wife, buy a ticket for your sister, buy a ticket for your aunt, or a mentor you might have. But I can assure you, she is going to have an amazing time. Thank you for joining all of us. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Rochelle. I'm going to leave this up. I'm going to put everybody backstage, but I'm going to leave this up just for a little while so that folks can take a screenshot, or better yet, register. All right, thank you and good night. We'll see you next Thursday in Woodbridge. If you heard this, viewed this, make sure you let us know, because there might be a door prize in store for you. We'll see you next week. Thanks.